All right, so in section 2, we're going to look at the various conflict styles that we all use. We don't necessarily use, we probably use all of them, just we have some that are our go to. I gave everyone a handout where you can assess what conflict style you use most often. If you weren't in class the last time we met, I also have a copy of it in the folder for this week. So we're going to look at the 5 styles of conflict. So I like this matrix because basically what we're looking at is in a conflict, we both have some level of a concern for ourselves, and we also have a concern for others. So you see these 5 different styles of dealing with a conflict. Okay, so the first one is avoidance, where we ignore the conflict or we try to stay away from the conflict. And why do we do this? Because we are pessimistic about conflict. We don't think that conflict ever solves anything. Or we believe that it's just easier to go along with the way things are. You know, you don't want to rock the boat. Okay, so avoidance says this is really where you have very low concern for yourself and low concern for other people. Why? You know, why? This is a lose-lose. This is, as they say, this is a no way. Because you don't ever deal with the conflict if you don't try to find some way to manage it. So that's why everyone loses. However, sometimes you might want to use this strategy at work where the risk of speaking up is too great. You might work for a company that has no problems firing somebody, okay? Or if the relationship isn't worth the effort, maybe you have a relationship that's already fading, and you figure out, I'm just going to let this relationship die a death. I'm not going to go in and work on it, okay? Or you know that the issue is temporary and therefore not all that important for you. But I can't tell you when to do this. This is really up to you and looking at the various factors that are involved. But I would say next time you have a conflict, if your tendency is to avoid, maybe ask yourself why you are avoiding it. Is it because you just don't like conflict, or is it because of these 3 points at the bottom? Okay. You could do accommodation, where you have high regard for the other person but low regard for yourself. So you lose so the other person wins. We let the other person get their way rather than interacting with them. So I know things are changing, but when I was growing up, this was typical mom behavior. Oh, don't worry about me. There's one whatever left. You take it. You're more important than me, kind of a thing. Okay. Why would people accommodate? It's a way to enhance the relationship to some degree. Okay. I think some people are just fine with accommodating. Other people accommodate, but they feel resentful, and that resentment builds over time, so that can lead to a not such a great situation. It is important to realize that in a high context culture, culture such as Japan, Niger, where my husband is from, a lot of the I just went blank, China, okay, where avoidance or accommodation is considered you're helping the other person save face, and it's noble on your part to let them do that. It's a way to maintain harmony. Okay, my guess is not just low context, but also I just went blank, collectivistic cultures would be the same thing. Harmony, having everything smooth is important. In a country such as a culture such as the United States, which is overall low context, we don't see accommodation as being a good thing, or avoidance necessarily as being a good thing. And obviously, within the overall culture, there are pockets where this would be different. Okay. What is much more American is competition. Okay, it's a win-lose, and I think the dogs, I mean, they set it up perfectly, right? It's not enough that we succeed; cats must also fail. So, in something like this, you have high concern for yourself and low concern for the other person, meaning, in some ways, you don't care about that relationship as long as you win. That's what's most important. I always have used the example in the past of, think of the sports that are most popular in the United States. We'll say football, basketball, baseball. How many of these games ever end in a tie? Like, never. Okay. I mean, that's just, there has to be a winner. Okay. However, and competition can enhance a relationship. If you have two people who, they like to pit each other, they like to pit themselves against each other. My mom was talking about her physical therapist was saying he has an Apple Watch and his daughter has an Apple Watch, and they are always trying to see who can get the most steps. I guess she was walking on the treadmill, and so he hopped on the treadmill next to her and started walking and talking to her, and he said he needed to get in his steps because his daughter was going to a dance class. So in this case, that competition is helping them both be healthy in a sense. So competition is not always bad, right? It really depends on how the people in the relationship view it and how they're using it. However, if you're competing because you really want to control the other person in some way, that can lead to aggression. And we're going to look at two kinds of aggression. One is called passive aggression. I know we've all known about passive aggressive people. In fact, there's a video that I've uploaded. It's called Signs You're the Passive Aggressive Friend. And just see how the two women interact. Okay, so basically what happens in a passive aggressive, it's still competition. The person who's being passive aggressive is trying to win by letting the other person know that they are dissatisfied, but they're not going to come out and say, I don't like this, I don't agree with this. They disguise it. And it's referred to also as crazy making, because frequently there's nothing that the other person can point to say, well, this is what you said. Okay, how do people show passive aggressiveness? By making the other person feel guilty. Okay, I had a colleague. She's long retired, but usually whenever I think of her, I can feel my blood pressure going up, because she had passive. She was a master of passive aggressive behavior. Okay, another thing that passive aggressive people do is they will agree to something but then not carry through on it. I guess this is me because I do the loud sigh. We let people know subtly or not so subtly that we don't agree by rolling our eyes or sighing or just having that pained expression. You're frequently saying, okay, fine, I'll do it. Okay. Humor, especially sarcasm, not always, but it can be the mark of passive aggression. It depends on how it is used. And also the silent treatment. Just somebody says something to you and you just look at them, or even online, right? This is a way of controlling. Somebody texts you or whatever something is posted online and you ghost, you're silent. That is a form of, it can be a form of passive aggressive behavior. But if you watch this, something that BuzzFeed created, signs you're the passive aggressive friend, and see if you recognize either yourself or someone else in these behaviors. Okay. And then of course there's direct aggression, which is you're attacking the person's character or their competence. I never thought of teasing as bad. I would say I like to do gentle teasing, but if it's obvious that the other person does not like that teasing and I keep going, then I'm being aggressive. So be careful if you are someone who also likes to tease. Ridiculing someone, threatening someone, swearing at them. These are direct aggression. And nonverbal emblems, fist shaking, waving your arms, even direct aggression. We don't talk about this in the chapter, but punching someone, that's direct aggression. As I said earlier, competition is not always bad, but direct aggression is there. I can't think of any upside to direct aggression, and if you can think of some, please share it with the class. Basically, it tends to have a high relational cost. Like you might win, you might win the battle, but lose the war, because over time, direct aggression definitely destroys their relationship. Okay, now we come to one that we talked about compromise. I don't even remember if it was last chapter or the chapter before, and trying to figure out why this is bad. So compromise, it's negotiated, but the problem in a compromise is both people are focusing on what they had to give up, what they lost. So the book calls this is halfway, right? So each person gets some of what they want, although both of them sacrifice part of their goals. And someone has definitely, I remember raising my kids and saying, when they argued over, I don't even know, if they were going to watch something on Nickelodeon or whoever did the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, is it Cartoon Network? What did they get to watch? And I'd say, you have to compromise. And of course, nobody was happy with that. Okay. Think about it this way. If I say to you, there's something that we need to do, and, we have to, I can't even think of what we would have to do. Okay, so we're working for a company, and we say the company is not making a lot of money, and the way that we are going to recoup some of our losses is we're going to skimp a little on the product. We put 500 matchsticks in a box, and we're only going to put 490. Who's going to notice that they're 10 matchsticks short? And you say, but this goes against my values of honesty. And your company says, well, you just have to compromise on your values and morals. You would think that was horrible. So keep that in mind, why we say that compromise in general is not, it's not a good thing. All right. So of course, nothing is absolute. Some compromises do leave parties satisfied. And they're talking about, especially like one person is selling a car. I got a car to sell, and I want to sell it for $5,000. It's old-ish. And you need a car, you want to buy a car, and you want to spend $3,000 because you've been saving up. Okay, now neither of us budge. Okay, we're avoiding it. Okay, the car doesn't get sold. But I say, okay, I could let it go for $4,000, and you say, well, yeah, okay. So I didn't get exactly what I wanted in terms of the money, but I sold the car and I made some money. So I'm satisfied. You had to spend more than you wanted, but you got a car, and it's not like you had to pay double what you were going to, so you're satisfied. Generally, though, what we think of as a much more satisfying outcome for a conflict is collaboration rather than compromise, because in a collaboration, each person feels that they won. And to me, that is the big difference. It's not so much the outcome, it's how each person feels about the outcome. So basically what happens is all of the parties involved in this situation are satisfied because, I should start singing that, what was his name? Frank Sinatra, we did it my way, we'll do it, we did it our way. Okay. Why is collaboration so wonderful? Well, in order to get to collaboration, you really have to listen to the other person. And if you've listened to the other person and you're able to paraphrase what the person said, then that person feels that they were heard. They're more apt to listen to you actively, so you will feel that you were heard, and overall that's going to lessen the stress that both of you feel in a situation. If you think about all the conflicts that you have had, you will realize that cooperative problem solving does not happen very much. I would say I see a lot of competition, and frequently in a competition where one person is winning and the other person is losing, the person has chosen to lose by accommodating. Oh, forget it, it's just not worth it. I will choose to lose so that you can win. Okay, so win-win is it's not always possible to do or appropriate. It tends to take a lot of time, and if you don't have a lot of time, you might have to come to a decision quickly, and you don't have this time to really sit down and go back and forth. So all of these styles, these 5 different styles, and you know what the style that you use when things are going well, and your default style when you're feeling stressed. So these are the ones that you are most comfortable with because you tend to do them over and over again. But it's important to realize that there is no one way to respond to conflicts. Obviously, it's very situational. So what comes into making your decision? What's the situation? Is it something where you're going to have to live with the consequences for a long time? Then you want to invest a lot of time in coming to a good solution, an effective solution. If it's minor, I don't know. We've got 1 cookie left. I want it. My son wants it. We're not going to, call a mediator and have this person, help us go through this. I will accommodate. I say, go ahead, you can have it. Or I'll get up early and I'll eat it while he's still asleep. So, okay. So we're going to consider the situation. You have to consider the other person. There are people that you absolutely don't mind accommodating. I will almost always accommodate my mom because I know how much she sacrificed for us when we were younger. So it's my turn to do whatever I can for her. And it also depends on your goals. You think about the goals for the situation, but also your goals for the relationship you have with the other person. So there's a great chart at the bottom of page 346 that looks at, they'll give you factors to consider, and then how avoidance, accommodation, competition, compromise, and collaboration fit in, like how they apply to that situation. So let's say you took the little assessment and you came up with a certain conflict style and you say, I'm not sure about that. There is, on page 347, there's a short assessment, 20 questions for you to answer, and then you can see the results at the end of the chapter to see what comes out as your most dominant conflict style. Okay, so here's my question. Overall, what is your most typical conflict style? And what is a situation where there are not 2 S's in style, where a different style could benefit you in the other person involved. And I should add another point. What can you do to both what can you do and then what will you do to start to use this this new style? Oops, wrong one. Okay. All right. We'll go on to the third section in a little bit.